Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. My schedule is so packed right now, so I'm going to do a short intro. My raid prep for 6.4 has been underway and will be largely underway this week, so I'm going to be moving my stream schedule around a little bit to make up for my 6 to 10 p.m. raid prep times, doing the old raids, doing some ultimate, just trying to warm up a little bit before, you know, everything comes around and we get our last major raid tier for the expansion, unless they surprise us with something other than the 2 Criterions and Criterion Savages we're supposed to get for the rest of the expansion. I'm not otherwise expecting too much in the way of a high-end challenge like Top or DSR. Please, I can't do that again this expansion. Give me a little bit of a break. Other than that, just staying busy, just staying very busy. Actually, just got back from the gym, shower, eat, all that stuff, and I've got like 2 or 3 videos that I'm working on right now alongside of this. Actually, maybe even more videos alongside of that, but that's to be seen at a later date. So let me just thank the sponsors real quick, and we'll go into the Q&A. Thank you to everyone over on Patreon for supporting. You don't have to. It's completely optional. All my content's available for free here on YouTube, but for anyone who does support over there, I really do appreciate it. And there was also a super thanks. So funny thing about the super thanks, I actually get an email, or not even an email, but YouTube notifies me on my phone when it comes in. So I always save that notification so I absolutely don't forget. Let me scroll through the comment section. There it is, because it like highlights, so I don't even need to read anything. Yeah, it was $10 from a Zyberstorm. You can see it in the comment section. So thank you to you for contributing to last week's video. Hopefully you've been enjoying the stuff leading up to 6.4 and some of the other fun projects we've had. I've got another Duty Finder video coming out this week, and it goes so very differently than the first one, but still not in the way that I think people are expecting. So I'm really enjoying doing these kind of edited gameplay videos, and I think I might do that actually for actual full playthroughs of games. Like when I play through Final Fantasy 1, just chop it down into 30 to 40 minutes of highlighted moments that cover the major points of the game itself and some of the highlights, and release that on a regular basis. My VOD channel is being updated, by the way. I've got like everything all the way through Final Fantasy 15 gradually uploading over there. So if you missed any of Count Up, I recommend to go do that. But thank you again for the $10. Let me get back on track. And with that, let's actually get into the Q&A so I can finish editing that Duty Finder video. You know, I'm noticing there's a lot of just outright comments. I actually had to scroll through like 5 or 6 comments before I got to a question. So maybe it's a shorter video. I don't know. That would work in my favor this particular week, but we'll see. Anyway, hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. What's good in the neighborhood, Happy? I don't know. I know one neighbor total in my whole building. And she's a lovely, lovely old woman. She gave me a smoked duck and lentil soup the other day when I was walking by. She's like, hey, you want some soup? And I'm like, yes, I would love some soup. Just a simple question for you this week. I was wondering, how much more time does it take for you to edit the Monday video compared to putting them up raw with no edits? Like 3 minutes. It's literally between every question, I don't make any noise. There's no audio. So it's just a flat line. So I literally just take the flat line section, edit it out, and chop it together. It's one of the easiest edit jobs that you could possibly do. However, sometimes I have to go through and do like a few extra things. So the raw one is like the laziest thing that I could possibly do, because it just cuts that little, like, cut that out, because it's just like a lot of little motions that I've gotten used to and don't take very long. But I'm so mentally drained that I look at all of those breaks. I see like, you know, 15, 16, 20 breaks, and I'm just like, I don't want to do all that. So it's actually not a huge time save overall, but it makes me feel better. If anything, the bigger time save is on the actual breaks taken and then the editing later, so it kind of like doubles up a little bit. Sometimes I like step away and like take care of something in the middle of a recording, and then that time comes out. But if I commit to doing the whole thing in one go, then I don't do that at all. So, but either way, yeah, it's really more of a mental break than it is an actual time save, but it does save time as well, and I'm very, very careful about my time expenditures right now. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hi, Haps. Hope you're doing good. Hi, and I hope you're doing good as well. When I started 14, I wanted to get a head start, so I watched YouTube, and your Let's Played series popped up and was very well done. With that being said, how is Healer Happy? Do you still get on him and play from time to time? No, and the only reason that video series stopped is because it got kind of boring, literally just trying to come up with some time. I've thought about bringing it back in a lot of different ways, because a lot of people did really enjoy it. I mean, it's a very long series that covers at least a decent majority of the old parts of the game. And I think that I think that if I maybe did it like I'm talking, so you know the Duty Finder video I was talking about at the start, where I take a block of recording and then pare it down to only the parts that I think were actually good enough. If I did something like that, I think I could return to it, but that kind of defeats the purpose at the same time of it feeling like a let's play, because then I wouldn't call it that. It would be like playthrough or, you know, doing this. I don't know. I'd have to have a different name. Yeah, no, that was a good one. I do kind of miss doing that, but I never play Healer Happy nowadays. Hashtag Mondays better with Mr. Happy. I'm glad they're better. Hi, Haps. Hi. Ad phases and raids have been kind of rare and short lately, depressingly so. Especially looking back at Coils or Alexanders. Is there a particular way you prefer to see ads in this content, either as big or small part of an encounter? How do you think they've been doing wrong or right in the past? I think there are lots of ways. I don't think there's one right way to do it. But I think the laziest way to do it is here's 2 ads, keep them separated and kill them. That's always outright. Now, I think when you throw the 3rd ad in there, you know, E7, incredibly awful encounter. However, that particular part, the ad phase, is actually, I think, a highlight of the encounter itself. It's very similar to an old Coil encounter, but it's nice to have, you know, the tanks have to move and there's party stacks and the movements, the actual movement mechanic you learned in the first phase returns, and there's a decent amount of raid damage, and there's reading the actual ad animations, and there's all these like little tiny things. It never feels like it's too much, but it also is, it also just kind of resonates really well. It's still maybe a little too simple, but Shiva's ad phase as well. I think the tight crowd control while trying to stop targets, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses. Some have incredibly low health, but counter the damage that you deal in some capacity, just dealing damage back. Some of them are bulkier, but more susceptible to crowd control. And then some of them aren't killable and just need to be intercepted. I think creating lots of little rules and trying to protect a point is actually probably the formula 14 does strongest for ad phases. And we've seen that in the past, that those tend to be the best ones. But the controlling all of the ads and making sure that they not only stay apart, but that all of their mechanics are handled in a succinct manner, they do fairly well also. It's just when they just make ads, that's when it's at the worst. When there's just ads and maybe some like AoEs that are like a spread. You know, that's lazy. I don't want that. But there's definitely some solid examples of 14 doing ad phases well. Oh boy, we got a lengthy one here. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Haps. Hi, long-time listener, first-time asker. Welcome. Glad the move went smoothly and hope you're settling in well. I am. I'd say I have. I gotta trim this. It looks like I've got a lawn growing on my face at this point because I haven't been trimming it properly. But, you know, it's gonna take care of that. Also, my hair, too. I should actually finally go see a barber. I haven't seen a barber since, like, 3 years ago, which shouldn't surprise anyone. So I've just been buzzing it myself, and the last time I did it, it's just not even. So I should just go see someone at this point. With Blue Mage getting an update in 0.45, I've been thinking a lot about limited jobs and the way they're presented in the game. I see a lot of comments from people about Blue not being a real job, and fair, but from my experience leveling and playing Blue, I found the experience less close to a standard job, much closer to playing something like Eureka and Viera. That is exactly what it intends to be. Separate leveling set up with its own processes, systems, content, etc. In a sense, Blue is content disguised as a job. I think part of the negative dynamic is partly set by misplaced expectations. So it made me think that if they ever introduce another limited job in the future, they might do a separate one that's in a separate tab in the character. Yeah, it's honestly, they shouldn't have put Blue Mage in the main character tab. It's not a good idea. I agree. I agree with what you're saying here, but the bottom line is, even if it wasn't presented as that, people would see it as that, because Blue Mage is a classic Final Fantasy job. It was a fully playable job in Final Fantasy XI. It's been a job that's it has parity or is incredibly strong in a lot of games. And so you can't, no matter what, that parallel is going to be drawn. I do think that the improvements that you're seeing here, like separating it on the tabs and not placing it alongside the other jobs so it doesn't draw that comparison so directly, I think it's logical. But at this point, even if they did it with another limited job, they're still calling it a limited job. Limited is being the key word, and job, of course, both of the words are keywords. So even just calling it that, even if you took everything else, moved it, set it up separate content, made it more apparent, you can't change the stigma at this point. This would have needed to have happened the way it was presented before and not fixed now, because there's too many people who have experienced it and know it. And even those of us who like it are, you know, just kind of wondering what the future of it even is, and like, well, are they even going to bother? And honestly, I don't think they will. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, good day, and how are you? Hello, good day, and I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I wanted to hear your thoughts on job complexity. I feel like a lot of classes have been pushed into a state of being brain dead when most were incredibly engaging between Stormblood and Shadowbringers. For example, I quit White Mage for Astro completely when Stormblood dropped, and I was in love. Aloha. Stop. I don't know if you're going to hear him in the distance. He's whining for me to come into the other room. Quit White Mage for Astro completely when Stormblood dropped, and I was in love with how the job worked throughout its Heavensward Stormblood lifespan. I like being adaptable and making my tanks unkillable with the right combination of buffs and controlling a card flow was really fun and not as hard as some people are saying. A lot of people don't say Astro was hard other than the APM. The problem is you can't balance the game around random buffs because the buffs need to be strong enough to make the job feel impactful, but you also can't design fights around having them consistently. So you have these wildly, drastically different encounters every single time. And the game is so much about, even back then, so much about controlling everything at given moments. You can never say, oh, I'll have a bowl for this, because you don't want to save the bowl and prevent yourself from pulling another card. So you pull the bowl, and it's like, but the tank is, no matter what, planning their cooldowns around certain points in the fight. So that's what I mean. That was the big problem with Astro, is that you plan everything, and Astro was an unplannable job. So unless you got something that increased DPS, preferably the balance, that was like the one aspect that, while you couldn't necessarily control it, it was always good no matter when it came up. Whereas other things were mostly unnecessary and just kind of excessive. So, which, you know, it might feel cool, but functionally doesn't achieve a whole lot. Don't mind losing Noct, but I feel losing its Time Mage identity and interesting. See, I feel like they've gone closer to Time Mage. They went away from Time Mage with the buff extension, but went more into like the stars. Like, I love the timed popping of the star and Macrocosmos and even the single target shield ability they have that, like, it pops into a heal when it disperses. I think they've actually moved closer back to Time Mage, just in a completely different way than the way they were before. Do you think simplicity and dumbing down of classes is the better option? See, here's the thing. There's only a few classes I genuinely think they've actually dumbed down outside of the 2-minute window. Because when I'm actually playing most jobs, while I am always looking at the 2-minute window, how I achieve my power is usually a little bit different on every single job. Like, you got to remember, I play Monk, I play Dancer, I play Black Mage, I dabble on heals for pretty much anything in the PF, and I have no problem tanking, and Paladin and Warrior are normally my two go-tos there. And the way I play every single one is different. Like, the way it feels to play every single one is different. I do think they went too far with I mean, I've said it a million times at this point. The 2-minute meta needs to go. We need to have more flexibility in our buff windows and in the encounter design. It's too much to have this whole 2-minute thing where jobs feel genuinely bad if you don't do things on the 2-minute mark. I think that's a huge design flaw. But in terms of complexity, I think the only real complexity, because no matter what, even when jobs had more buttons, more interactions between skills, the idea was always the same. You still just did X, Y, and Z over and over again. It was just when you were doing X, Y, and Z and how the encounter infected doing X, Y, and Z. So that's why I've never really felt this all too much. I've largely felt like most of the times we've gotten simpler things, it's been things players have actively complained about. It's the things nobody complains about that they just drastically change that I think warrants the most criticism. So there's so many different ways to describe this and take this. But I do think one thing above all else, not every job needs to be equal difficulty to play. And I don't think they're necessarily aiming for that, but it feels like they've been getting closer and closer to that. There's still jobs that intimidate people. Black Mage still very intimidating. Monk, very intimidating to a lot of people. Astro, very intimidating as well. So I think they still have some of that, but I think they've narrowed that gap a little too much in favor of trying to get more people to play every job. You have kind of messed up the balance of people who want to play something equal to their role / equal to their personal interests. Like, you have people who are interested in a job and then it's made to be a little too easy and accessible for that individual player, like you've described here with Astro. So they have to find something else that meets that criteria. And then if that changes, they have to do it again. And then it's a constant like rolling wheel that never stops. You know, it's like a hill that never ends with that wheel. So I think they need to kind of step back, slow it down, understand that it's okay to have those different complexities and to have them be pronounced between easy and more difficult. But I don't think that's realistically what's going to happen. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, hope you're doing good. Hello, and same to you. Just a quick question, sure. Now that some time has passed, the initial rush is done. What do you think you're more excited about releasing this year? 16 or Armored Core? Oh, 16. What do you mean? Neither game is released. The initial rush isn't even remotely done yet. 16 has been for years. Like, I've been begging for an Armored Core because I've been starved for Armored Core for over a decade at this point, because I didn't really get into Verdict Day all that much. Like, I just didn't bother at that point because I played 5 and it was starting to get into streaming, so like I was focusing on 14, so I never even really got into Verdict Day. So like that's like I haven't had it in a while and I need it right now. I need it to come back kind of situation. Whereas 16 is 2 of my favorite franchises ever being combined essentially into this magnificent looking product. I've loved seeing all the trailers. I've loved seeing everything that they've been telling us and like state of play and everything. And at some point in the future, I'll get to tell you how it felt to actually play it. But all of that aside, if you had even asked me this 6 months ago before we'd seen some of the recent trailers, before we even knew there was an Armored Core, I would have answered Final Fantasy 16 because it's something I wanted so bad. It's something I've wanted to have released ever since they unveiled it more than anything. However, Armored Core is second place above everything else happening this year. That I can guarantee you. Hashtag Mr. Happy 1227 Mondays. Ooh. Hello, Haps. Hi. I went on a little trip through history and went down oh, not the Versus 13 rabbit hole. Oh, no. Oh, now I'm afraid to read the rest of the question. Anyway, the idea of the Crystal Saga was really interesting. It seems like 14 and Realm Reborn took some of those ideas with its story and lore. I was wondering if you're one of those people who was very excited for Versus 13. I mean, yeah, everyone was excited when the first, 2 trailers came out. Then they ghosted us for 5 years. There was 1 more trailer and then it became 15. Here's the thing. I'll say this about Versus 13. I don't understand the people, and I don't understand the sentiment that people have that they wished Versus 13 had come out, or that that there was confidence in how good Versus 13 would have been. It was never anything. It was a whole bunch of ideas not tied together. It was supposed to be 1 game, then 3 games, then 1 game, then 2 games, then 1 game, then back to 3 games. Then it was supposed to be a freaking musical over 7 years. The game went nowhere in all of that time. And then they had to hobble together all of these loose ideas into something in 3 years on an engine that, quite frankly, I don't think is suited for a lot of for gaming. I don't think the Luminous engine was ever fully suited for it. They did the best that they could, and it got better over time. But I mean, now Luminous has basically been dissolved into Square Enix itself, so I doubt we'll see any more Luminous engine games to see if they can improve it anymore. And I honestly, Square just needs to stop making engines. I think they know that. I think that's why they're using Unreal now for most things. But they just stop making it. Just don't do it. Just stop doing it. But it's Versus 13 was never anything. It never made it past ideas and loosely connected things. So I can't ever be excited about that game. But I was excited for a year or 2 when we first saw it. But that has it's been a long time since I felt that way. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Haps. Hi. With 7.0 being 1 year away, if they were to do 2 DPS jobs, which DPS do you think would be most likely? It would be Caster and Ranged, most likely. I know people look at scouting, and here's the thing. I won't say they couldn't do a scouting job that is ranged. They can do whatever they want. Do I think they would do it? No. But could they do it? Absolutely. I'm not going to tell you it can't happen. But Caster, for sure. The next job as a whole, if it's not Caster, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked if they unveil something that isn't Caster, even if they're doing 2 jobs, if they announce that first, because I think they know everyone's expecting a Caster. But they've also known everyone was expecting, well, actually, did they with Shadowbringers? Because I remember, so I interviewed Yoshi P in Japan, because they flew me out. I'm still so grateful for that. I wish I could go back. I remember he asked me, why did people think Dancer was going to be a healer? And I told him, it has healing capabilities in Final Fantasy XI, and we haven't had a healer in a while. But he was still really surprised that people were healed. So maybe the community saying they expect to be Caster has no impact on it. I mean, nobody expected another melee after the number of melees we had when we got Reaper. So, but yeah, no, Caster almost certainly, and Scouting is the other, if they really want to go with things that haven't been updated in a while, Scouting's the oldest. So, but I think Fizz range should be the other role. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we only get one job though. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hope you're starting to feel a bit more at home in the new place, that things are going well. They are, just staying incredibly busy. That is the best for me right now. And hello to you as well. After the most recent live letter, I became concerned when they mentioned planned potency buffs to every tank except Dark Knight. I got the impression that the difference in damage output wasn't so steep at the moment, and the tanks were decently balanced. As far as I can tell, main thing that excuses how little sustain Dark Knight has is its comparatively high damage. So my question is the following. Do you think this could damage the balance to the point of making Dark less viable than the rest, or do you agree there's still some room for improvement? So a lot of the fights we've had this expansion are so heavily dependent on how powerful the 2-minute window is in particular. And so Dark Knight's 2-minute window is stupid strong. So even if they even if they buff other jobs and bring them closer to Dark Knight, I think Dark Knight's ability to pump out damage in a short window of time, like they outburst DPS jobs. Like it's insane. Like even if the sustain draws them a little bit closer, like the tanks all in parity, Dark Knight's burst is insane. And that is something you can only replicate so much with the other jobs. So no, I don't think so. I also think that Dark Knight's sustain doesn't really matter in end game rating. That's something you notice in dungeons, but honestly, while yes, you do notice it in actual raids, it's not the deal breaker in raids at all. You don't take a job for their self-sustain into Savage. Like it's just not the thing that you do. And a Dark Knight throwing TBNs on other people, throwing whatever the other skill is, the one that's literally just damage reduction. There's throwing damage reduction on other people, Dark Mind for magic AoEs, and then just their general, living dead and all that. It's just, they're still going to be as good as they ever were. So I don't think that's anything's going to happen that's bad for them. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, hi, and hello. Hello to you too, good sir. I have a bad habit of writing my questions in the truck before I go to work because I usually listen to this then. That's fine. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. That's not a bad. I mean, it'd be a bad habit if you wrote them while driving, but that's a different story. Discovering my bases now, and for my lack of hello for last week. Don't really have a question, but hope all is well, and good luck on a hopefully better prog for the upcoming tier. Thank you, because I really like the team we put together. I really get along with everyone on the team. I have raided with almost everyone on the team before, and the people I haven't raided with, I'm enjoying playing with now during prep. So I'm hoping for, listen, I'm going to say this right now. I just want to beat it as quickly as possible with no drama. That's all I want. I had, Abyssos was drama, Top was drama. I just want to play Final Fantasy 14 and do it fast, especially because 16 is coming out. So that is the sole focus of this tier. And everyone is in agreement for that. So I am excited. Hashtag Mondays Happy, Mr. With. Hello, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing well in your new setting. Thank you. I have 3 HQ tacos of your design. I'm coming back on tacos a little bit, but it's doing good. Listen, I'm getting this in the neck. The neck's looking better a little bit. We're doing good. 2 quick questions. What's the best way to farm Hydatos crystals? It's still just to do freaking bosses. I can't believe this has never been changed. It just sucks. It's genuinely the worst part. But yeah, it's honestly, it is fate farming. There's no other way to get them. It sucks. Like you can maybe make a PF. Honestly, what I would recommend, go into whatever your data center's Discord is for Eureka and make listings there. Most of them have the ability to make listings for specific ones. And so if you do that, you might find better luck, but it's so much extra effort. Just change it, Square. Come on. And 2, do you think the graphics update will bring Viera and Hrothgar hats? That is pure copium. No. Yep. With Mr. Hap. I like it. Hello. Hi. And an echo hello for any absentee hellos. None yet, but maybe. I remember initially hoping that the variant and Criterion dungeons might have had with an alternate gearing ability progression system, such as with Eureka and Boja. I think that what really gave the content longevity was the ability to work your way up to eventually being able to utterly stomp enemies that used to pose a challenge. Would you prefer that kind of system in place? The potential to almost break fights towards the end? So, yes and no. I actually love Criterion itself. Savage and the rewards for regular Criterion are underwhelming. but I love the high difficulty 4-man content. The bosses from the first Criterion, genuinely fun to do and genuinely distinct, having something that difficult with only 4 people. And it was super refreshing to have that. That being said, I do love these kind of systems, and I do agree that those types of things create longevity for the content. So I think that's what's missing with not having an exploration zone this expansion. And I'm hoping we return to having one next expansion, if not for any other reason than to no longer have a relic that is solely tomes. Tomes are fine, and it seems like every time I bring up wanting something other than tomes, in addition to tomes, people miss the part where I say leave the tome option in, and they just freak out. They go, no, tomes is perfect. And I'm like, I didn't say get rid of the tomes. I said give me something in case I don't just want to do the tomes. In one ear, out the other, I swear sometimes. But yeah, no, I would just want my exploration zones back so I can have something like this. But for Criterion, I'm glad with the way it is other than the rewards. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi there, Haps. Hi. New place is coming together really well. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really changed. Ivy's been there the whole time, hasn't she? She's just taking a nice, cozy nap. I was wondering if we might have a clue that Golbez and Zero are fighting us together based on the encounter's music. It's a matchup of the 4 fiends and the overworld theme, which we hear in Zero's domain. Yeah, I mean, I actually presented this. If you watched my English trailer breakdown, I mentioned that I'm not unconvinced that Zero doesn't somehow become the Shadow Dragon. I am not 100% certain it's going to be. I know that it looks like Azdaia. It is unquestionably Azdaia. However, I just wonder if Zero is like a vessel for the dragon's ether and thus takes on the appearance of Azdaia for the sake of the encounter. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I'm going to at least leave it as a possibility. I think the obvious answer is probably the obvious answer of who the Shadow Dragon is. I think it's almost certainly Azdaia, but that being said, I won't rule it out because it just seems like a logical thing to do. But of course, the Zero becoming Zeromus thing in 6.5 is going to be at the top of everyone's list for predictions, and that, I think, is also a completely reasonable thing. Hashtag happy with Mr. Mondays. Well met, Mr. Happy. Hi. What's your favorite? Okay, I can't expect everyone to know this. I am so insane. You should, because I'm pretty sure this person comes by my stream fairly frequently. I am colorblind, super ultra colorblind. I'm not a dog, but I can't see them properly. So even when I say I have a favorite color, that favorite color could be right in front of me and I wouldn't know it. It could at least be a 50-50 between that and another color. So, all of them, I guess. Hashtag happy Mr. with wow, it's a little different from the one above. Oh, no, hello. There it is. Good thing somebody gave you one, because I'll cover you. Always thought of Deep Dungeon as 14's version of Nigel Isle from 11. I hate Nigel Isle. Question is, what content, if any, from 11 would you like to see a 14 adaptation of? Always thought it'd be cool to see Dynamis Divergence. At least you picked Divergence, not regular Dynamis, because Divergence is like a somewhat okay version of Dynamis. Imagine running through limbs with a party of 8, figuring out how to tackle groups of mobs. No, I don't want anything from 11. I want the glam system from 11 more than I want any content from. Most content from 11 is pretty much just the same flavor with like 1 or 2 rules changed. Functionally, I never really feel like it's much of anything different. And so there's nothing at all that I want from 11 in this. No, nothing. Hashtag Mondays with Miss Happy. No, put all the comments at the top, so all the questions are at the bottom. So I guess I'm not getting a short video. Hey, Happy. Hi. Hope you're well. You too. My question is, would you ever consider moving back to the East Coast? I know you literally just moved, but as you know, California rent prices are crazy. So I grew up in what used to be one of the most expensive counties in all of the U.S. My family struggled a lot to stay there because that was where all of my other family lived. And so that's where I would go back to, and it wouldn't be much of any better. I think now it's like the 6th or 7th because all the prices, especially in California, have gone up. But like LA County, San Francisco, even San Diego is getting quite expensive if you want to live within like 10, 15 minutes of downtown. It's not the worst, but a lot of it's also like Section 8 housing that's been revamped. I don't know how far along that's come, but I remember when I lived there, that was a lot of our options as well. Here's the thing. I wouldn't say no, but I much prefer living in California. I just would prefer to live not in the Bay, because the Bay in particular is where things get, I think, too crazy. I'd want to live probably like 20-30 minutes outside of LA or San Diego, in all honesty. The heat in San Diego is crazy, and LA isn't much better, but that's where I'd want to be, because the rent's a little bit lower, but you can still use, like, because I don't drive, so I have to have a place that either has public transit or access to Lyft or Uber. I don't go very many places, or I need something within walking distance. I pretty much walk to all the grocery stores here in the Bay, so, or any place I need to go, I just walk, so. But no, yeah, it wouldn't be much better if I were to be going home to where my family or all of my like extended family all live, because it's also very expensive there. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello and salutations. Hope you're having a good day so far. I am. It's been a fantastic day. Thank you. A question statement I saw on Odin's Novice Network had me thinking a bit, and it's in relation to Astro's nocturnal and diurnal stances. As a healer main, I'm 100% in favor of them returning, by the way. Well, it won't happen, but, you know, there you go. Should be interested in the devs adding similar stances on one of the other healers. Sage already has a toggle skill to turn the direct heals into shield heals. Why not? Well, no, what that is, the toggle skill is the equivalent of, sorry, I hit my test, is the equivalent of Scholar having emergency tactics. It's the reverse. Their heals are direct, and they choose to make them a shield. Scholar is their shields, and they choose to make them direct. That's really the only key difference when you line up Sage and Scholar. So that's the key difference between the two. No, I don't think there's a purpose. I don't think there's a good reason to do it, because then you have to balance the job as if it's two different jobs. And they don't want that anymore. They'd rather have a clear division of strictly pure healing and shield healing. And I don't see a reason to diverge away from that, other than as a showcase of we can do it. Hashtag Mr. Happy, Mr. Monday's Happy. Another non-helloer. It's a good thing there were some spares today, because y'all slacking. That's the bottom line. Recently leveled up all my crafters and gatherers. Took a long time and got in the way of the content I'd rather be doing. With 7.0 coming and likely boosting the level cap to 100, do you think it's finally time that the crafter gatherer get their own level skip? It's not a bad idea. I think crafting and gathering is so macro heavy and so like just Google how to do it, that the whole discovery aspect of it, it's kind of pointless. So yeah, I mean, I get why they don't, but it's the same with regular jobs. So yeah, I mean, it probably should have happened before now, in all honesty. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Haps. Hi. Since you've been following 14 development and have seen the devs' reaction to feedback, how do you feel about the future of 14? Like you mentioned in a previous video, this expansion's been a letdown in a lot of places. Job design, encounters, DPS checks, balance, and even the relic. Heard a lot of the time the devs take a lot of feedback into consideration, but to me, it feels like the devs aren't really mentioning the biggest complaints people have had this expansion. I don't agree with that. Every time we've had a major issue, they kind of just take to the lodestone and write out these giant, massive explanations as to how the change came to be, what the result of the change was, and how, if they feel they need to, they're going to be addressing said change. So that to me is like a clear indicator that they've seen how people feel, and they see how people are I guess approaching Final Fantasy 14. And I don't know. I guess for me, there's a couple of things, but let me finish reading this. Besides being able to place furniture on the island and variant dungeons, maybe, has this been the case before as well? No, I think they've been incredibly forward about why they're making decisions and who they're affecting and how they're affecting people more than ever now. It's just that it doesn't change the fact that the game is moving in a specific direction that some people are not pleased with. I think right now the biggest lack in clarity is the feedback about variant and criterion. And I thought they were going to cover that in the live letter, and then they didn't. So that was, for me, the scariest thing about the live letter. Everything else seemed to be like directly based on feedback. People want outdoor furnishings for their houses, so they're trying to get that ready for 7.0. People wanted outdoor furnishings for the island, so they're doing that. People felt, that Abyssos, the final boss, was slightly overtuned, so they went through, admitted that they had done some extra tuning on it, and that they were going to dial it back. They've been making changes to the gear acquisition, which has been a huge thing of feedback. They made changes with the Savage lockout timer, where they said, that they would push it back. They've showcased tons of listening to the player base. It doesn't change the fact that it's still designed in a certain way, and that some changes are so big they can't happen until an expansion, if at all, because things like the 2-minute meta, I honestly don't think are going away in 7.0, despite feedback. So we'll see. That's going to be a big judgment point. But I feel fine. I mean, all the content has still been the things that I enjoy, even with the hiccups. I've always, at least on a content level, I've enjoyed most things. I didn't hate Island Sanctuary. I wish there was more to it. Now there will be. I didn't hate Variant or Criterion. I loved the encounter design and the actual dungeon design and the lore, but there weren't enough reasons to redo it. Honestly, the only really big thing they've struggled with is giving me reasons to do this content more than once. That's the thing something I want them to work on without stressing that you need to do it in order to enjoy it for a long period of time. Like, it needs to be something where someone only wants to do it once. It's perfectly reasonable and achievable. But that if I do want to do it a lot, there are good reasons and very achievable things and goals for me to reach, or even unachievable ones that I'd spend months on, like ocean fishing. No more updating ocean fishing. Please do not put any more point achievements in. I swear if they do it. But yeah, no, I feel confident. I just may not like everything that they do, and that's fine. Hashtag MHM. Keep it short. Hey, Haps. Look, that's 2. That makes up for one of the other ones, right? Hope all is well with you and you have as much fun with 16 as I am with Tears of the Kingdom. Glad you're enjoying it because I don't have any interest in that. My question for this week is, with WoW now officially having hardcore servers being implemented, do you think 14 should have more content of a similar nature introduced into the game? No, I actually did a long time ago try Final Fantasy 14, a hardcore character, and honestly, it was kind of lame. It's like, it makes sense maybe in like a PvP style thing, but for like, I don't know, dude. I don't want my hardcore character dying because of pugs, and I don't want to have to not pug every single thing I do from Sestasha all the way through to the end of the game. So I think little pockets of that stuff, like Criterion, stuff like BA, as you've mentioned here, is fine, but not a whole server for it. I personally don't have any interest in something like that, and I don't even want to know how it could be done because I don't think it's a good idea. Oh yeah, there's still a lot of questions. We might have to start lightning rounding these. Hashtag Mr. Happy, not Mondays. Hiya. Hi. Hope I'm not too late to ask. No, I have someone who wrote a question an hour ago. What's your priority for purchasing Tombstone gear with the new patch? So, first of all, you need to determine what your best in slot is and what pieces you will need from tomes. If body or legs are in that list, they become top priority because those are going to cost you the most and they're going to be worth the biggest jump in item level, the biggest jump in power individually. After that, it depends on the substats of most things. But if it's BIS, then odds are it has the best substats that you need anyway. In which case, if I get an accessory upgrade material, I'll prioritize an accessory. If I get a left side, then after the body or the legs, and if I need another piece, then I'll prioritize that. The other big one is, I'm not adverse to buying the Tombstone weapon week 2 to make re-clears easier, especially if I'm playing with a static. And I highly recommend that even if you're in a static, if you're doing a softcore, midcore static, do not shy away from picking up that Tombstone weapon week 2. It is a massive, massive boost in power. And you should not be like, it's a waste of tomes. I'm just going to get the Savage weapon after I beat the... No, you're not trying to make it easier to get to that. Until you have beaten the tier, that weapon is... That Tombstone upgraded weapon is not off the table. For week 1, though, the only job that can possibly get it is Paladin. If somehow content goes into week 2 unclear, then you start considering the melees who would do it next. And, then Caster and Fizz range. But either way, the point is... Left side pieces, priority over right side pieces. If you get an upgrade material, shift that priority, but don't shy away from the Tombstone weapon. All right, yeah, I'm going to lightning round the rest of these because I have no idea how many more there are, and I can see like a wall of questions. So this one, with a new raid tier approaching, third, I ask a question I've been mulling over for a bit. Jobs tend to rely on specific speeds in order to function, and then you have certain gear upgrades that can throw your speed out of whack should you still get these upgrades. I will always say it is better to take the upgrade that throws things slightly out of whack if it will overall increase your damage. In most cases, that will be the case. I mean, that's why most people, they get a full set of pentamelded crafted gear, even if it screws up their skill speed or spell speed, because the amount of stats they'll gain far exceeds that minor inconvenience that they're going to face that's going to make their 2-minute window a little bit less optimal because their overall is going to be a lot better. This one, what programs you use to record gameplay? There's a few. Some of them I steal right off Twitch because it's on my Twitch. It's not stealing. I don't know why I use that word. It's my own Twitch content. Sometimes I record directly with OBS like I'm doing right now. I'll do that for gameplay. Another program that I really enjoy is Marillus Action. Sometimes I record with that, and that has the highest quality of the things that I would use. But you can fine-tune OBS to make it work really, really well. Similar to that, you can use Shadowplay, NVIDIA Shadowplay. If you just want short clips of gameplay, SteelSeries actually has something called Moments. Actually, I'm doing a sponsored thing for it on Twitch, but I haven't mentioned it much here on YouTube, where people just download it, try it out. Even if you don't have SteelSeries hardware, you can use it. I actually get a little bit of a kickback from that. I'll throw that in the comment section because I'm mentioning it here anyway. But it has like audio adjustment stuff that works on even not SteelSeries stuff. And then it has moments which will automatically capture clips from like mainstream games. Like it's AI programmed to capture hype moments when certain things happens in game, like, you know, Apex, Fortnite. I'm sure there's like a whole list of them. I'd have to go through and look at them. But then also, if you have SteelSeries hardware, it's the same hardware. It's the same software you would use to manage the hardware. So if you ever buy anything from me, you should be downloading that app anyway. But yeah, no, those are just the things that I use personally. Then we have one here. Oh, when talking about the Sundering, why is that they specifically use the language across 10 and 3 was the star divided? Because they're fancy. That's it. They're fancy. That sounds like something Ordeon J would say. Yeah, they're just being fancy. Let's see. Was just wondering if you use any special tools in your setup like Go XLR or Stream Deck. I have a Stream Deck, dude. It breaks like every 6 hours. I swear. It just like stops working every 6 hours. I don't know why. And Go XLR, I've tried it in the past, and it has caused me nothing but misery, and I hate it. So that's all there is to that. Mr. Happy got a question. Want to hear your thoughts? Do you have strong feelings about the Relic Zodiac Zeta weapons? Strong feelings? Like, regarding the individual weapons themselves' appearance, I really like some of them. Yeah, the lore got a lot more interesting once we actually got introduced to some of the Zodiac Brave stuff in later expansions. But the actual making of the weapons, I hated that. I hated that. Felt inspired to not only ask because you've covered a lot of old content, but also because I've been listening to a lot of your Q&As while grinding out my second Zeta. Oh man, yeah, I don't like doing the old ones. I don't like doing the Zodiac one in particular. I think there are high points and low points, but man, you know, I don't mind things like that, but I guess I have bad memories of like my RNG and like how things went, you know, with the way they were designed in A Realm Reborn. Nowadays, they would probably design them way less tediously. We also have way more tools to handle stuff like the books, etc. But man, I just have such bad memories of that. Appearance-wise, some of them are still my favorites to this day. With Hydaelyn now gone, what's going to happen with our Echo Blessing of Light? We still have it. That's it. It's ours now. There's still Ascians out there we haven't seen or dealt with. Yeah, I think there's a couple. We've dealt with a lot of them, but I can't remember which ones are still accounted for. I think some we've gotten news about, because like there's some that I forget the one that began with the letter E, not Emmett. There's another one. I can't remember his name. I think he died in Baldesion Arsenal. I think Altima is the one that Gaius slew, but they would be reborn eventually. So there's that. But now there's no... Oh, well, the big thing is, if any of them died, there's no one to restore their memories now. So, like, they're kind of just SOL as far as I know. So it's possible, yeah, but I don't remember which ones we haven't actually seen. I think Altima is one we've only seen in a single cutscene, and I don't remember which other ones we've just straight up never met. And then we have here... 6.3 gave some tips for things to hoard. Prepare for 6.3. You have any tips or things to hoard? Oh, yeah, you just cap all your time. I mean, it's the same things. You just hoard the same things every patch. So that same video makes sense for even numbered patches as well. Let's see. And then I think the rest might actually just be comments. Love the Astral Chain response. Yeah, that game just begs to not be on the Nintendo Switch. Let's see. Thank the gods you called it a pork roll. Yeah, that's a big fight, whether it's a pork roll or Taylor ham. Then we have, yeah, it says, do you have a cooking channel I'm not aware of? No, I don't have, because my food's not like top tier. It's just I make stuff for myself and I enjoy talking about it. Then we have, it's like putting 120 days worth of time into a video game within a year span is extremely... What? Putting 120 days worth of time into a video game within a year span is... Wait, what is that in reference to? Is that in reference to a question from last week? I don't even remember. All right, and everything else, just just a bunch. There's just so many comments to go through. Some of them pretty funny, but and then some of them talking about the triangle from last week. Dude, I was watching somebody play, and I was just like, I don't see any triangles. I don't know what you're talking about. So, in fact, I have somebody on right now, and I see people who aren't at max. Oh, you know what? I do see it. No, I do see it right now. Okay, yeah. Someone who's not at max health. Yeah, okay. I just never pay attention to that because I just look at the bar. But you're right. Yeah, I see it. I do see the triangle right now on people's health bars. Okay. Either way, yeah, that's it. That's a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you have a question, ask it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And thank you again. Thank you again to those on Patreon and, of course, Zyber for the super thanks that was on the video as well. Anyway, with that, I will see you in the next weekly Q&A and in the videos before then. And until then, I bid you adieu. Take care.